So really this keynote goes to Congresswoman Grace Meng. Woo! So, you know, I'll be honest, I am not into politics. It's tough mentally to follow back and forth, but during this time I can't not stay away. Politics touches every part of our lives. As much as we don't like the bickering or we don't like kind of empty promises by certain politicians, I think that if we don't get involved, we don't have a seat at the table. And I think if we have to think of one person in Congress that really gives us a seat at the table, it is Congresswoman Grace Meng. You may have seen her video. Her video went viral when she was talking to members of Congress, chastising them for voting down her bill, in which hundreds of Republicans said to a hate crime bill in which they didn't even have to give any funding or do anything. It's just condemning hate crimes against Asians. They decided not to participate. I mean, come on, right? So Grace Meng is a representative for New York's 6th Congressional District since 2013. Most recently, she has pushed the anti-Asian hate bill, supported by President Joe Biden, which seeks to help combat the ongoing anti-Asian racism and violence and all types of hate related to the coronavirus. So let's give a round of applause to Congresswoman Grace Meng.
Thank you so much, Ben, and thank you to everyone for putting together this event and giving not just our community this space, but for all communities to come together. I look across the space today and in events and Zooms in the last few weeks and months, and I am so incredibly thankful and heartened to see the tremendous allyship shown from so many beyond the Asian American community. I've been really touched because never in my life, I'm in my 40s, never in my life have I seen and felt such a widespread showing of support and encouragement from people who don't look like me. And I am so thankful for that, because it's going to take all of us. In this last year of us battling the pandemic, we've also battled these other viruses of discrimination against Asian Americans. We stood together to stand against anti-Semitism. We stood together publicly and in solidarity to say that Black Lives Matter. And so we come together and we are incredibly thankful. Over this last year, we have been screaming out, which often felt like we were screaming into a black hole. We've been screaming for months and months about the discrimination that was happening, whether it was just verbal, straight down to physical violent attacks. For over the past year, we felt like not many people were listening to us. And that is largely because in this history of the United States, our Asian Pacific American community has been largely seen as invisible. Whether you're talking about our history books, where in this country's history, we've had laws on the books to exclude us and to discriminate against us because of ignorant fear. From the Chinese Exclusion Act, to Japanese Americans being incarcerated, to the most recent Muslim ban in the past few years, our community has been scapegoated over and over again. We're missing from the history books. We're also missing from the budget books. In all levels of government, our community has received a disproportionately low, horribly low amount of funding, even though our population continues to grow. In the books of our philanthropic budget books, we receive nationwide less than 1% of charitable funds that have been given out, 0.20%. So we have been invisible for way too long. And now we come together to say that we are invisible no more. We are not going to take it anymore. We are gathered in solidarity within and with other communities to say that we matter too. And this is important in government, as Ben mentioned. Last year, we passed a resolution in Congress, a resolution that was simply symbolic, cost no money, and 164 of my colleagues voted against it. Against a symbolic resolution just said that Congress stands against discriminating against Asians. That shouldn't be so hard for people to stand up against. And so I want to be here today to be with all of you, to say thank you to each and every one of you, to all of you who might not be in politics, who might not have a microphone, who might not have a platform. Your voice has been so incredibly important, and we are so grateful. Last week, I went to Atlanta to meet with some of the families of the victims. And while I will never know what it has been like for their families to go through this horrendous tragedy, I and many of my colleagues drove through the exact route that the gunman took that day. From the first place to the second and third locations, it took over 45 minutes without traffic. The second and third locations were not right off the highway. It was a very deliberate and intentional plan to find the victims in those second and third and first places. And part of that is because of the silence and the invisibility that we have seen Asian American women in this country been treated as. Asian American women's stories have not been sufficiently told. And I thanked their families, and I said, because of their moms, because of their families, Asian Americans, particularly women, and the misogyny and the sexism that is faced every single day, and the objectification, because of their moms, Asian Americans have more of a voice. Their moms have given voice to our community, not just in Atlanta, but across the country. For too long, we have been a little shy, a little embarrassed about our stories and our upbringing maybe, because we felt like our stories might not have been American enough. But we are done playing defense with trying to fit into what people think looks like an American. We are not playing defense with our history anymore. We are on the offense now. We are just as American as anyone else.
Woo! Woo! Yeah.
And I told these families, as sad as they are, they have changed the landscape of our community and our nation across the country, and we are incredibly grateful for their legacies. So I just wanted to be here to be in solidarity with all of you. It is up to you and me. Some of our parents and our grandparents, they've worked at 2 jobs, 3 jobs. They have language and cultural obstacles. It is up to us, the children and the grandchildren of immigrants, to have that tough conversation with people, not just who are outside of our community hurling racism at us, but also the people within our own communities about racism that may exist as well. And we will do this. We will come together more effective than ever. We will show the world that we are invisible no more. We will not let them take our voice away from us, because we are American too. Thank you for being here.
Woo! Woo!